Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s with this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes, 1987 at online booksellers everywhere. Hollywood Historical Men in Crisis. One of my viewers wanted me to do another installment in the Hollywood Historical Men in Crisis series. And for this installment in the Hollywood Historical Men in Crisis series, I'm going to be talking about legendary musician Donny Hathaway. All images in this video are used under fair use of United States copyright law of 1976 and are used in conjunction with my commentary. Now, Donny Hathaway is known as being the legendary musician who wrote the classic 1970s Christmas song, This Christmas, and performing this song, which has become an iconic staple in black households at Christmas time. He is also the father of singer Layla Hathaway and her sister Kenya. And while Donny Hathaway's song This Christmas brought a lot of joy to people, sadly, he was a man who became a man in crisis later on in his life. Now, Donny Hathaway grew up raised by his grandmother, Martha Pitts, in the Carr Square housing project of St. Louis, Missouri. And even though he grew up just being raised by his grandmother, she provided him with good, solid structure inside of the church, and he became a gospel singer at 3 years old, and then developed this into a passion for music as he studied piano. And he graduated from Vashon High School in 1963 and then studied music on a fine arts scholarship at Howard University, where he met one of his closest friends, Roberta Flack. And at Howard, he was also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and his skills at music were so strong that in 1967, he didn't even complete his degree. No, he had so many job offers that he could just go out here and take a job without even needing a degree. And Donny Hathaway went out here and started building up a career as a songwriter, a session musician, and a producer for Curtis Mayfield, and worked with many legendary acts like the staple singers Jerry Butler, Aretha Franklin, and the Impressions. And he went out here and made many, worked with many iconic singers as related to things as he worked on his own records. And as he worked on his own records, he did a single called The Ghetto Part 1, which was his first major song. And then he started to go out here and did a second album where he did a lot of contemporary pop, soul, and gospel songs under his own name. And this record basically did very well, and he also did duets with Roberta Flack, including the iconic song "Killing Me Softly" with his song. And again, he was known for making a lot of just brilliant music and writing very brilliant songs. And he was known for going out here and again producing lots of great music, and and built up his career as a legendary singer before eventually creating the iconic song This Christmas, which was released in 1970. And that song basically was an iconic song as related to black households and black people at Christmas time. And this song has basically been heard by people all over the world, and it's still being used in many different promotions, and it's also been gone out here and been covered by many legendary singers like the Whispers, Diana Ross, The Temptations, Stevie Wonder, Christina Aguilera. Many people have just done covers of this song, and again, this song was a masterful track as related to his music. Now, he also even recorded the theme song to the TV series Maude, and again, he was out here, again, a master craftsman to music, and as a master craftsman to music, he basically took music to the next level as he was out here, as related to building his success, but as he was going out here working on his building towards his success, sadly, he wound up becoming a man in crisis due to mental health issues. Now, Donny Hathaway, at the peak of his career in 1970, he was participating in bouts of depression and exhibiting unusual behavior. And I have to wonder if this was a chemical imbalance in his brain, or if it biologically, or if it was a chemical imbalance in his brain that happened as a result of a lot of the pressure he was under. Because with a lot of entertainers, you are under a lot of pressure to perform, and you want to try to maintain your success, and that possibly could have been the thing that led to Donny Hathaway's mental health issues. Now, they say schizophrenia is a issue that is biological, as related to a chemical imbalance in the brain, but I have to wonder if it was due to the pressures, because black men at that time were under a lot of pressure as related to the racism we encounter with coming out of Jim Crow, and a lot of black men were under a lot of pressure because we didn't know whether we'd be able to have or keep a job. And working in entertainment, you don't know where your next gig is. So it's a lot of pressure for a man like Donny Hathaway, who was a graduate of Howard University. Not a graduate, but he was attending Howard University. He married Eula Vaughn, had 2 daughters. And again, that was a lot of pressure for a man that could possibly lead to him becoming a man in crisis, because having to try to maintain your music career and also try to maintain a family as a father is a lot of pressure, because as a head of household, you have to lead and maintain that home. So this was a lot of pressure on Donny Hathaway, and I have to wonder again if this was the thing that triggered his mental health issues, because they said that at one point, after he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, he was prescribed multiple medications, and at one time had to take 14 different medications twice a day. And again, this took a toll on his mental health eventually, but it improved in the short term. But in the long term, he basically while he was getting better, he became less diligent about taking his meds, and because he started feeling better. And eventually what happened was he stopped taking his meds altogether. And once he stopped taking his medication, he went from a man working on great success and continuing a great music career to becoming a man in crisis, to the point where he was becoming so mentally unstable that he wound up having to be hospitalized multiple times. And things got so bad that it basically wound up driving a wedge between him and Roberta Flack, his close friend, someone who he basically loved like family. He wound up driving a wedge between himself and Roberta Flack, who loved this man, but she didn't understand that this was a man in crisis. And with Donny Hathaway being a man in crisis, he needed all the love and care, because what was driving him, again, I believe, and that led to his mental instability, is the pressures, again, as related to the entertainment industry, because the entertainment industry is a lot of pressure. The entertainment industry is a lot of stress, and that can basically impact somebody's mental health. And that mental health issues that Donny Hathaway had basically became an event that sadly led to the end of his own life, because as he wound up having to deal with his mental health issues, he was still trying to record music. He was still trying to work with Roberta Flack in 1978, and then working on more music in 1979. And what happened was he eventually wound up becoming paranoid and having a delusion where he believed that white people were trying to kill him, connect his brain to a machine for the purpose of stealing his voice. And sadly, as he was out here having these kinds of episodes, what happened was that Donny Hathaway, he was staying in a hotel room on the 15th floor of the New York City's Essex House. And what he did was remove the window from the 15th floor. And after he removed the window from the 15th floor, he wound up jumping out of that window and sadly wound up taking his life. And people didn't even know that he had done this until they saw his body on the ground outside of the Essex House Hotel here in New York City. And it was, again, a sad end to a brilliant musician's career, a brilliant man who was a man in crisis. And Donny Hathaway, again, brilliant musician, talented musician, but a tortured soul who was a man in crisis due to mental health issues. And again, these mental health issues are something people don't want to talk about as related to men. And even though Donny Hathaway was out here getting help, he still was a man in crisis. And again, his issues as a man in crisis were the things that sadly led to the end of the life of one of Black America's most brilliant musicians. Because when I think about Donny Hathaway, again, a brilliant musician and a brilliant man, but a man who was a man in crisis. And again, Donny Hathaway, it was a sad, tragic end to his life because, again, he was somebody who was struggling with mental health issues. And I won't say that he was a beta male because he was out here being a man, but the things that led to him becoming stressed were the things that led to him becoming a man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to some men becoming extremely dysfunctional and not being able to navigate a course in life, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Target. And if you'd like to see me do another installment in the Historical Men in Crisis series, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App. And if I know something about that individual, or I can do some research on that individual who is a historical man in crisis, I will make that video for you. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now available for the first time on Google Play, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are falling apart in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy on Google Play today.